Welcome to the Swine Time Podcast here at Pipestone. I'm your host, Spencer Wayne. I am one of the staff veterinarians, and they give me the fun job. They let me do this thing. They let me have a podcast that I record a few times a month, and I get to have interesting guests on. And today I have Hayden Kerkaert, one of my good friends and somebody who knows a lot of stuff. And so I'm excited to have Hayden here, and Hayden's going to tell us about weaned pigs. Hayden, you've been on this podcast a couple of times before. I would call you a friend of the podcast. Before we get into the stuff, I want to give you a hard time about a little bit on things, but also say I'm thankful you're here because you had a terrible accident recently. It was life-threatening, and you're here, so I wanted to say, and everybody would say the same thing, we're glad you're with us. So glad you're here. Thank you for not dying, I guess would be the
Yeah, thank you, Spence, for that. It means a lot, and just glad to be back on this podcast. It's been a while. Definitely a fun experience, and hopefully don't do any journeys like that again. Burned up probably 8 of my 9 lives on that one. So, and I think I don't have any more luck left in me, so no more Powerball tickets.
Yeah. So you got your third child or second child was just born?
Two children.
Two children.
Two children. I got a little girl, 3.5, and a little boy, 1.5. And so it's been pretty fun here. They're big time fans of animals. So we get to go out to the farm, every night we go out there and we chase cats, all sorts of animals around. So it's been a blast.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad you're here and healthy. Glad you got a fun, young, growing family and having a good time with that. What do you want to start with? Because it's a big topic. It's really interesting, and we could go a lot of different directions. But why don't we start with just how you even know about this topic with your current job? Just describe what you do currently.
Probably a little background on me. Last time I was on here was probably a little over a year and a half ago, maybe even close to 2 years. And now, back then, I was a nutritionist for the team. Still love nutrition. Nutrition is a passion. Still learned a ton on that front. But I've actually switched to the management company now. And with that role, really deal with all sorts of pig placement, from pig flow to the sales of pigs to the contracts. I would say that's a majority of my job, but it doesn't take all my time. I have a few other hats I still wear within the company, which super fun, multifaceted, get to be involved in a lot of different aspects that I wasn't before. So it's a chaotic world we live in the pig flow world and the pig placement world. So that's where I am today.
And specific to this commentary and this conversation is all the pigs that we have that are be extra pigs out of our managed sow units flow through your hands.
That is correct.
So you know a lot of stuff about where pigs go, where they could go, where they should go, how they get valued, how they're characterized, how they're presented. You're not a pig broker, but you do essentially what a pig broker does as you get these pigs pushed out into the industry and placed in good spots.
Yeah.
So you know stuff.
Yeah. Know stuff or negotiate a lot would be one of the things. But, I'd say probably a little background on the iso-wean market because some people just aren't familiar with it. The iso-wean market, today has been pretty wild. The demand of iso-wean pigs has been pretty crazy, where if you go about 1.5 years to 2 years ago, it was the inverse, where it was very difficult to get pigs sold or placed or gone. And so it's a wild world that we're in today. And a lot of that's being driven by, some health challenges in the industry the past 365 days, along with some depopulations, because we did come out of a bad market and some of those people just exiting the business. So there's less pigs on the market. And then the other thing is just depopulations being utilized as a strategy to fight PRRS. Mm-hmm. And so I know other systems and our system have done that just with how strong these new PRRS strains have been.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of in the past, you'd see cycles go where like PED, for example, came in, and for a period of time, iso-weans got to over $100 just because there's no pigs. But it was so short-lived that, they commanded a high value right there, but it didn't last too long. It went down after a bit. But with this, I've never seen it where it's been a year essentially of high-value weaned pigs sustained, almost about a year, where they're really expensive and they don't go through a down cycle where you can buy them cheaper. It's just been expensive the whole time. And you said it, just less pigs. PRRS either caused it directly or the depop following the PRRS caused it. So we just didn't have enough pigs. Getting into the pieces of the pie that we look at, or the pieces of the puzzle, how would you say pigs get typically presented to a buyer, and what is the buyer thinking about as he's, if somebody's going to buy pigs, what are the questions that a person is asking or being answered for?
Yeah, I would say the general things is, when am I going to get my pigs? Because I got to have the barn ready to do it. Or when do they have to wean? Because sometimes that changes your dynamic. If you have to wean pigs in a short amount of time, you're now looking for a barn. Whereas if you have the barn empty, you're looking for pigs, which can change the pricing scenarios very, very greatly and how you go about that. So the when is probably topic number one. The health status is huge. And Spencer, this would be something you should definitely talk very heavily on is, Circo, Myco, health statuses, vaccine statuses. What is PRRS status? That is a huge one. Are we PRRS active? Are we PRRS stable? PRRS stable, I think, runs a bunch of different definitions by whoever you talk to, or are they PRRS negative, Myco negative? There's all these little variations, and it's something I think as a vet you should attest to, because I think you get calls on this, and interpreting the definition is different, and we do it. Pipestone has PRRS stable, as in there's a wild type PRRS strain still in the herd and being tested. Then there's the we are vaccine positive but wild type negative, which the industry all interprets that differently. And then there's just the true we're PRRS negative, that this farm has no PRRS vaccine or wild type in it. And I think those are really big distinguishing things that can happen where PRRS active.
So you got the scheduling, you got a health check or things related to health or vaccinations or medications. And then I'm thinking genetics. Genetics a big deal or not?
I was going to lump it in with attributes. So Duroc sired versus non-Duroc sired, open pen, gestation, or Prop 12, or just you can take any pig, right? So I would say, I was going to lump them in together, genetics and attributes, but those are really your big ones that you're trying to sort through and distinguish value or have to meet the needs for people.
Yeah, and you throw age in there as well, because that's a distinct. You might be buying a 19-day-old pig, or you might be buying a 24-day-old pig, and they should not be valued the same.
That is correct.
Okay, so those are great split out. Let's start with date and time. I'm curious, if the market is $60 today, what's the biggest week-to-week swing you typically get? Will it drop or increase by a few dollars a week per week on average, or is it like, no, it takes a long time to really slide up and down? How fast can that change? So
generally, I would say from a week to week, you don't see huge movements. You're looking at, $1 to $3, maybe $5 in a crazy week, but you're not going to see $10 swings. Usually the market, once you kind of have it, it's a pretty good pulse, unless something crazy happens from a trade agreement that the market swings or something unforeseen, right? That's the only way you're going to have a huge swing. Do the pig prices go up? Yes, or down, but it's only by a couple of dollars typically. And
contract windows has a big influence, I'm guessing, too. You enter a different contract month for the fat hog.
Yep.
That it's going to swing. That could be that's probably your biggest driver for change.
Yeah. And so people that are on the open market, right, you think about, well, when's my best months to market? Well, I'm targeting the summer. So we're actually getting into the higher dollar wean pig markets today, where if you would typically buy pigs about 8 weeks to 10 weeks ago, you're in probably the low. Maybe it's even 12 now without looking at a calendar, but you're in your historical low because those pigs market in the winter months, right?
Yeah.
So
a low that was so high this year because it's just a weird year.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then, like I said, that when are the pigs coming kind of date, the biggest thing is if somebody has to move pigs next week on Monday and I get notified of them today, pig price is going to reflect that, because there's very limited people that generally have barns available. And so you discount them. But if it's the other way, the inverse, generally you get your name on the board, you're going to pay towards the top, but you're towards the top of first choices. So I'm going to get you the better pigs typically, because you've been waiting around for a while. Yeah.
If you're selling though, and you get to the last minute, is it always a penalty, or is it sometimes like you might get a last minute deal where I can't imagine the case where it would be worth more, but you're generally going to just take dollars off as you get closer and closer?
Generally, it's got to be dollars off, because you have to incentivize somebody to move pigs around, go find the barn, go do something.
Yeah. All right. Health and vax. I'll comment on that a little bit. It's a great way to think about the value of your pig. I would say woe to the producer who doesn't screen his pigs with some help from somebody that's thinking about it regularly, like one of the veterinarians in our group here or another vet. The question will come up, or the proposition of the pig will come up. Hey, I've got these pigs. They're PRRS stable. They're coming from some farm, or they'll describe them some way, and the producer may say, "Oh, I'll buy them." You don't know really what you're getting, because what does that mean? And so you want to have clear definitions. And you went into some of that, but use your vet. And I would say in this case, if you're going to buy pigs, screen those pigs somehow, know what you're getting. Because this is a PRRS negative naive pig, which is super clean. Is it a vaccinated pig? Is it a pig that just got out of a closure where it might have some virus, hanging around that's going to leak out? Did it just finish the closure? Has it been safe for a while? What's the testing history? You want to know those things because it can make a difference between a good group and a really not fun group of pigs where you're going to lose $15, $20 where you might not have had that penalty had you been more careful on what you bought.
And to your point, everyone tests differently too, and to understand that is huge. And I'll be honest, I still I rely a lot on the vets on that one because everyone can test differently. Like, how did you test? Was it a rope sample and the whole barn came back negative, or did it take multiple serum samples to determine these pigs and how many weeks? Is it 1 week or are we talking 15? Because it's a huge, huge deal.
Get horse's mouth information using your vet is what I would say.
100%.
Related to that, vaccines. Some pigs, all the pigs are vaccinated. Some are vaccinated only if producer requests or pays or negotiates for it. But that's worth a couple bucks worth of plus or minus on that too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and again, it all depends on what kind of vaccines. Is it just one shot, no shot, right? Is it Circo, Myco, and PRRS and ileitis, or is it just Circo? Is it just nothing? And I think it definitely skews the value, and just understanding that when you do that, I would say some people that you talk to, they don't vaccinate, and then people will buy the pigs and are like, shoot, I didn't ask for that, or I didn't realize it wasn't this. So it is just something to be aware of. Is
it generally considered to be a value add to have vaccine on board? I'd say it's got to be almost always. There's probably cases where a guy says, I didn't really want this vaccine, but most of the time people appreciate having a pig that's done and ready to go, I would guess.
Yeah, I would say it's a value add in most situations, and I don't really know of a situation where it hasn't been, in my opinion. So it is a big advantage when you're purchasing pigs.
Yeah. So we talked about PRRS. You got PRRS, you got flu even. Flu, we used to not think that was an important consideration. More and more it is. Are they flu negative or positive? And then there's things like E. coli. Do we have E. coli issues in this flow? Oh, you didn't ask, but now since you did, yes, they're terrible, and you want to be. I mean, there's a lot of questions beyond PRRS that you want to ask on this thing. That'll determine if you're going to have a good experience or not. Okay, attributes, genetics. You mentioned it, Duroc. Yeah. Is Duroc still a generally sought after premium attribute?
I don't know if I'd say it's necessarily a premium, but it does dictate what kind of pig you can buy, because some people do have specific contracts that say only Durocs and some don't. I would say it's probably not as needed as it was a year ago or even 2 years ago, but it's still a predominant amount of pigs that need to be Duroc sired. So, there's a lot of good boars out there. Just understand your genetics, because they all do act a little different. And then it just comes down to type, kind, and preference, right? So, but Duroc, I would say, is the big one. Do you need it or don't you need it? And that's really dependent on your packer and the agreement you have on that front. So
okay, so it's not necessarily a premium that you'd pay more for. You just got to ferret through the stuff and figure out if it's what you need. It's what you got to have for your contract or not.
Yeah, I would say historically it used to be. Today, probably not as much. So
okay, other attributes: Prop 12, OPG.
Yeah. So other attributes, right? OPG and Prop 12 are probably the two biggest and easiest ones people hear about. That definitely inflates the value or decreases the value depending on what you need. If a buyer has an open pen gestation contract, sometimes they're allowed to get away with stall pigs, but they have to talk to their packer first, and they take the deduction off their check. Well, for them, right, that means I'm going to put less value on a stall pig, and rightfully so. Now, some people, they could care less. I just need a pig in my barn. It fits these attributes, but Prop 12 or open pen isn't one of them.
Yeah, so on that, you got a regular stall barn and that pig coming out, standard age, whatever. And then I got an OPG or I got a Prop 12. How do you, if you were going to say, here's a ballpark number of the premium you could command for that, how much more is an OPG pig worth than a stall barn pig? How much more is a Prop 12 pig worth? If you were buying open market weaned pigs, you should have a relative value you place on that.
Yep. Stall barn, we'll just call the base, right? And then I would say open pen can be $1 to $2 more depending on the situation, because in the background, if you have a packer requirement, open pen pigs aren't openly traded a lot. So it does, they're out there, but you have to find them, and you have to find the right facility, right, that produces them. Prop 12 is a little unique in the essence. if you don't have a Prop 12 contract, it doesn't bring me value to buy a Prop 12 pig. And so it's a limited pool. There's generally a premium on it, right? But again, you have to have a buyer that needs the Prop 12 pigs, and that pool is smaller than everything else. So do they command a premium? Yes, generally, but you also got to have that buyer on the back end that can utilize the premium. If you don't have that, then there is no premium from a Prop 12 perspective.
What's more common for you? Do you get calls from people requesting, I got to have Prop 12 pigs, or do you have supply of Prop 12 pigs looking for a home?
Mostly the calls looking for the Prop 12. I wouldn't say it's frequent, but people just float it out there saying, hey, I need these, or if you have an opening in the next 30 days for these, let me know. I'd be interested. We don't have a ton of them. Every now and then we'll have an open market group, but generally it's the other way. It's not us calling saying, hey, I have them.
Most of the units that are Prop 12 have producers that have paid the money to get that pig. They're going to vacuum all those pigs up in general. They're never going to let them go.
Yep.
Typically don't. Okay, next attribute, age.
Yeah.
If I go back 20 years ago, all the pigs were 19 to 20 days old, something like that. If I go back 30 years ago, they were even 15 or 12. There was a period of time where we were doing super medicated early weaning type scenarios. Now, in the last 10 years, we've shifted to way more to 24 days old. I don't know older than 24, but 24 is kind of the upper standard age. How do you value days of age when you think about 20 to 24 day old pig?
Yeah, I think it's a huge thing. This kind of probably ties more into my nutrition background, right? When we evaluate a lot of the 24 day old pigs and knowing a lot of their performance metrics and how to feed them, we know you can feed less into them. We know they grow better. We know they have better mortalities. There's a lot of knowns with that pig, and we have a lot of data behind it, and we can argue up and down on how you want to value it. I would say generally that pig should command anywhere between $2 to $6 more
per day or per 4 days, or
from a 20 to 21 to 24.
Okay.
And really that's based off of, we know all those metrics that they just perform better, and it is going to still offset the cost of that pig to the guy that's buying it, but there is that premium generally built in because you have all those variables that'll help you. And then if you throw clean and healthy on top of it, watch out.
Yeah. So we talked about health check, but in our own system, we've said, hey, if you got a freshly stocked, cleanly stocked barn versus a barn that's inherited every bacteria over the last 20 years from 5 different genetics companies, they both might be PRRS negative, but boy, there's a huge quality difference on all the little bug load. So I don't know where that factors in, but that's another attribute. If you could get
it's certainly an attribute. I would say it can help draw people to certain flows. And sometimes it can carry a premium, but you also got to have, I would just say you got to have people that probably look beyond that for the premium, if that makes sense. Because generally that's probably the last tier of, hey, it's a brand new herd or it's a clean sow herd. Yeah. They've already gone through probably the main details that we've talked above, and what they base their pricing off of.
When you're talking to people looking for pigs, how much memory is there floating out there where people say, I don't want those pigs anymore, where like they had a bad experience? Does that factor into everybody's conversation that I want those pigs again because they were great, or do they really care? I don't know if there's a big difference in that.
I would certainly say it is funny if there's a certain sow farm flow within Pipestone that they've had excellent experiences with. Always get it requested by somebody. Hey, if it's available, I want X flow, right? This is always what I want. If you have it, I will move up or I will wait, but this is what I want. Now, it doesn't mean we'll always have them available, right? Some of it's a timing deal. And there are some situations where people are like, hey, I don't want that flow. It just hasn't treated me well. But I think you'd find that anywhere in the industry, where if it's just a flow that just for whatever reason in your facility, your how you operate just doesn't treat you well, you're not going to want it. So,
Okay. Hey, for a little bit here, talk about the crush in general as a concept, because you're selling open market pigs on the open market to open market buying pig people. And they're paying whatever the market is, but that's dictated by. Can you just go through the components of how you calculate what you should be willing to pay for a weaned pig?
Yep. Everyone's going to be different. Everyone's got different fixed cost and variable costs because every region's different. So I want to preface that. But, the buyer that's looking to always make money and is probably very fluid in the market is going to be probably asking for less on a weaned pig value, right? They don't have a set barn. They don't have a set contract. They will come in and out of the market as they see fit or they see an opportunity.
That's a guy with maybe a set of rented barn that he's looking for opportunity, and it might sit empty for a while, but I got some pigs and you put them in. If you can crush a profit on a cheap pig buying.
Yep, or just somebody that is well connected with a feed mill or two and says, hey, so-and-so called me, they have this group, do you have a barn, I'll place them. They might not even control the lease. They might just say, yep, I have an opportunity. I think I can make X dollars, whatever your threshold is, 7, 10, whatever that number is, they'll go out and buy them. But I would say that person doesn't need as much capital, or will probably have a lower pig price tolerance of buying pigs. Now, on the inverse, if you have somebody that has a shackle requirement and has a fixed asset that is going to be sitting empty, that's a different story. You might see a $10 to $15 or $20 swing because I need my space filled. I need to fulfill my contract. Mm-hmm. So, a normal crush, you're looking at probably a $60 range. And again, this is normal for a pig, mid 60s, maybe upper 60s today.
When you say 60s, that's that you could value a pig
that you can value pig at, that you're going to crush a value that you think is reasonable to take the risk to buy it. But this is the guy that doesn't have any fixed assets, any obligations anywhere.
Yeah. So bargain shopper,
bargain shopper.
Bargain shopper is looking to score $1 to $5 a pig, something, or what?
7. I would say 7+.
7+.
Yep,
okay.
because they got to stomach the risk that they're taking on the livestock, right? Okay. And then on the flip side, you have the person, I have the barn, I have the fixed assets. Depending on whose model you're using and what you do, that value is probably in the low to mid 80s. And again, everyone's got different numbers. It's a general statement, but if today that's where it would be, because otherwise I don't have a pig going through my facility. I'm accruing costs on that facility. Or I have a packer obligation that I just don't want to get fined or penalized for on the back end.
That's like a $15 difference between those two. Bargain shopper was looking for him at 65, and constrained shopper has got their buying them for 80. 15 is that really legit? Like they could be $15. Two different guys. Their potential to buy a pig is $15 difference.
Certainly, okay. And but it also comes with limitations, right? So, but it is. It's a generality that we're speaking on that one, and it depends on the market, right? Because, again, if I have a fixed cost facility that I need to fill, I need to get rid of X, Y, Z, I need obligations met, your value of that pig is actually more than what you'd actually realize.
Okay.
So
we got to wrap it up pretty quick, but when you think about the pigs that show up, I'm curious how grading is considered. When people buy pigs, do they typically want to have them is there always a grade involved after the pigs arrive? And what does that typically look like? Is it a % or two off, or some people don't grade any pigs off? How does that go? I
would say open market purchasing, most people grade pigs off at some level, right? And every group's different. We like to keep it pretty simple, I would say, on what we deem as an acceptable grade off and not. Certain buyers and sellers will have different grade off scales that they allow. Certain things are a % off or this. Everyone's different. So, but for sure, every pig's going to get graded off on a sell-off. I don't think I've been a part of a sell-off group that hasn't had a true grade off.
Okay. I'm thinking of other things, too, that come up. You sell the pigs. 3 weeks later, when the pigs are due to ship, the unit, worst case, breaks with PRRS, but has a flu blip or something, and I've seen it before where if you don't communicate that out, it's really received not well by the guy buying the pig if it wasn't what he thought he was buying. But if you can at least call out ahead of time, say, hey, we got a little some scours took a half a pound of weight on the average offer, something, the communication seems to help. Is that true, or how much communication ends up smoothing things out if last-minute changes? For
sure, on the communication side of things, because that's not what you bought. And so generally, if something not good happens, it's going to come with a discount. It's going to come with a decrease in value. Or in some cases, it's just hey, I'm going to make you aware. They've started coughing. If you see an issue in the first X weeks, let us know. Or in some cases, hey, the farm did break with PRRS. I will let you back out. Yeah. Right. And so I'm not going to hold you to it. If there's certain situations, or sometimes you can work out deals on that front for those individuals. But yeah, communication on whenever a health issue is coming is huge. And generally we work with the producer to make it right and fair on their end.
Yeah. So just general comment, not technical at all, but How would you describe is it a high trust environment that you work in, or is it very transactional, no trust? When you're talking with people, these people you a lot of times have relationships with how much is trust involved in what you do currently versus, I went and bought a hamburger at a McDonald's, where maybe trust is implied there, but I don't even know what I'm asking except how touchy-feely is what you do versus transactional?
I would say it's not super transactional. Sometimes it is, right? I got this, you're going to take this, and we're going to walk away. But I would say in 98% of the cases that I've been involved with, it's, you want to have a great relationship with the person that buys the pig. You want them to have a great experience with that pig, and you want to help them in any way possible. So it's, I would say it's a really relationship focused, and it's I would say not as transactional as most people would think, because you want to do the best you can and get them the best pig you can and have the greatest experience. And if you sell them something and it's not what you sold them, they shouldn't trust you.
Yeah.
So
you think, like in your week of conversations, 90+% of the conversations are with people you already know really well and you're doing continued business with, or is it every week brand new people? How much repeat business is there in something like this?
Probably 90 to 95 are customers that we've talked to before, shareholders within Pipestone or something along those lines. There's 5 to 10% that, sometimes they somehow get my number, or somebody in Pipestone just say, hey, I want pigs, and it's a new intro. And as you've known, I could talk to a wall. I'm not afraid to talk to anyone. So, but yeah, lots of new conversation, new faces, new people, and it's been pretty exciting.
Okay. Anything we missed?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I like that. That was a good description of a lot of things that people out there buying pigs know and they deal with, but you never see it framed up. So this is nice. All right. I'll wrap it up there and say thanks to our listeners for listening to this podcast here with Hayden. And Hayden, thanks for being on here, and we'll join our listeners next time. The Swine Time Podcast was created for the pork industry and individual pork producers around the country. Hosted by me, Dr. Spencer Weaned with Pipestone Veterinary Services, the podcast contains pork industry news, advancements in animal care, and how to enhance your productivity. Find the Swine Time Podcast at www.pipestone.com or on your favorite listening platform.